Hello, Brendan Sinclair here with part 3 of how to get your site to the top of the search engines. In part 1 we looked at keyword research. Part 2 we looked at assessment of your website and your competitor's website to see what's being done differently, and certainly assessment of the websites that are already at the top of the search engines. Okay, so today in part 3 what we're going to look at is the on-page factors, how to start editing your web page to aid your search engine rankings. Now there's lots of different thoughts on how important the information on your page is. It certainly bears some relevance to your search engine rankings, obviously, otherwise the search engines wouldn't know what your page was about.
By on-page factors I mean things like your title tag, your heading, your subheadings, your general content, and of course things like the meta description. So let's move on and have a look at all of those.
So the first thing you need to look at is your title tag. Your title tag is that bit at the top, generally in the blue bar there if you use something like Internet Explorer. Now what you want to put in there is you want to make mention of the keyword or key phrase that you identified as being important for that particular page. Whatever phrase the page is targeting, that phrase needs to be in your title tag. So if you're targeting the phrase yellow bananas on that page, your title tag needs the words yellow bananas. For example, it might be yellow bananas from Brisbane, which would provide some localized search and what's called long tail searches as well. And it doesn't really matter too much in what sort of order you have. It could be Brisbane's great yellow bananas, for example. Just get the phrase in there, don't stress too much about it. Now the title tag has been found from various studies to be the most important part of your on-page factors in terms of your search engine rankings. Then you have things like your meta tag name. Not really relevant these days. We always generally put it into the page just so that we can remind ourselves what the page is about. Then you've got your meta description. Your meta description is really quite important because they say some search engines still look at it and apply it in the relevancy of assessing your page, but really importantly, a lot of the times the search engines will use that meta description as the snippet that's displayed when your page comes up in the search engine ranking. So you want it to be related to what's on the page. You want it to also provide the reader with a reason to click through and visit your page. So it's very important for that reason. Then whatever your key phrase is, let's stick with yellow bananas, then you mention that throughout your page. Put it in your headings, your subheadings, and throughout the content of your page. Now, it's not hugely important to jam it in every subheading, jam it in the heading. Just get it in there, make it sound natural, make it sound relevant and interesting in terms of your page. If yellow bananas goes into that heading and works well and makes sense, then you use it. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. Mention it a few times. Back in the old days you used to look at things like keyword density and how important they were. The keyword density of your key phrase these days isn't that important. There's other factors that are way more important. But if your page is about yellow bananas, then obviously you're going to mention yellow bananas. So think of it like that, and certainly write more for the reader in mind than the search engines, because in the end the reader's the person who buys, not a search engine.
Get your key phrase into the heading, the subheading, and the content of the page if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense to be there, don't put it in. It's that simple.
So that's essentially it for your on-page factors. Identify your key phrase and then put it in your title tag, your meta description, your headings, subheadings throughout the content of your page, because it's going to be relevant. Because if your page is about yellow bananas, then you need to mention yellow bananas there. In part 4 we'll start having a look at the impact of linking on your web page and how to get links to your website. Thanks, I hope that's been of interest.